Chapter 28. The Beauties Cut Flowers from Color. The poem reads, "The flowers in the imperial garden were like woven fabric overnight, a myriad of blossoms vying for fragrance, dyeing the landscape with vibrant colors. Is this creation truly divine? Such splendor is boundless. Yet the beauty is wasted, the grace of rain and dew is insufficient. Where can one weep for the fragrant soul? Heartbroken, weeping for the spirit within the curtained chamber." Right tune, Bodhisattva's charm. Men in the world are quick-witted and naturally intelligent, unaware that women, with their ingenuity and skill, often surpass men tenfold. Men may possess poetry, prose, art, or craftsmanship, but these are all taught and have a foundation. Only the wisdom of women can create something from nothing, achieving a masterpiece beyond the reach of nature. Furthermore, Wang Yi was bestowed with the palace maid Jiang Tingting. After becoming husband and wife, he deeply appreciated Emperor Yang's great favor, serving him daily at court with ever greater care and caution. Jiang Tingting, in turn, constantly thought of him, yet had no way to repay his kindness. One day, after court, Wang Yi returned home and said to his wife, Jiang, "This morning, a man named He Chu presented me with a beautifully crafted imperial concubine carriage." Jiang asked, "What is this imperial concubine carriage?" Wang Yi replied, "The carriage is spacious in the middle, complete with bed curtains and pillows. The four sides are draped with finely woven silk canopies, so that nothing can be seen from the outside. The inside is very bright, and one can clearly see the surrounding mountains and rivers. Many gold bells and jade pieces are scattered among the canopies, jingling as the carriage moves, like delicate music. One can laugh and chatter inside without hearing from the outside. Along the way, one can indulge in the company of palace women at will, hence the name Imperial Concubine Carriage." Jiang said, "This is merely an imitation of the old-fashioned leisure carriage. It's beautifully decorated, but it's the result of meticulous craftsmanship. It's nothing special." "How strange! I am deeply grateful for your Majesty's grace and think of it constantly. I wish to make something to present to you. Although I have already requested the ingredients, they are not yet ready, so I have not yet begun." Wang Yi asked, "What do you need to make it from?" Jiang replied, "I need fine black hair from a living person's head. I have already selected some from my own head and the maids' heads, but it is still not enough." Wang Yi asked, "Can I use what's in my head?" Jiang replied, "You are your husband's wife. It is inappropriate for you to take it off." Wang Yi laughed and said, "The other day I even had to cut off the things below, let alone hair." He then took off his hat and said, "I hope my virtuous wife can cut off whatever she wants. If it is still not enough, I will go and buy more, and then I will make it and present it to you." Upon hearing this, Jiang combed her husband's hair, selected the long, black strands, and carefully cut off a lot of them and slowly began to make it. It was truly a skillful hand, wielded in the boudoir, a clever mind revealed in the garden. It was midwinter, the flowers had faded, and the trees were bare. One day, Emperor Yang, along with Empress Xiao and his consorts, were feasting in the garden. Emperor Yang said, "Of the 4 seasons, spring is the best. All the flowers are in full bloom, the red ones are lovely, and the green ones are pitiful. In summer, lotus blossoms fill the pond, and wine is served from green bamboo tubes. In autumn, a bright moon hangs obliquely over the paulownia trees, and the fragrance of osmanthus wafts from the cups. So many beautiful scenes. Only winter is desolate and utterly uninteresting. I can only spend my days in bed, and going outside is a disappointment." Empress Xiao said, "I have heard that monks have meditation beds that can accommodate several people. Why doesn't your Majesty have one made too, with long pillows and large quilts, to house all the beauties within for feasting and revelry? Wouldn't that be wonderful?" "Uncomfortable," said Lady Zhu of Qiasheng Courtyard. "With such a large bed and quilt, one must embroider a large canopy." Emperor Yang laughed. "Your idea is good, but it can't compare to the bright spring weather, the willows swaying and flowers blooming, the pavilions and palaces, where every place is delightful and every moment is filled with joy. Lady Qin of Kingsue Courtyard said, "If your majesty is not lonely, what difficulty is there? We will pray to the heavenly palace tonight, and we guarantee that all the flowers will bloom tomorrow." Emperor Yang took it as a joke and teased her, saying, "In that case, I won't bother you tonight." After joking around for a while and drinking for an hour or two, he returned to the palace with Empress Xiao in a carriage. The next morning at breakfast, as expected, the ladies of the 16 courtyards came to invite him. Emperor Yang was somewhat reluctant to go. Empress Xiao repeatedly urged him to go, and Emperor Yang reluctantly went with her. As soon as they entered the garden gate, they saw thousands of reds and purples, peaches and apricots vying for beauty, clustered like brocade. Emperor Yang and Empress Xiao were surprised and said, "In this weather, why did they bloom so uniformly overnight?" "It's very strange." Before they finished speaking, 16 ladies-in-waiting, accompanied by many beautiful palace maids, came to greet the emperor with music and dance. Upon reaching him, they asked, "How are the flowers and willows in the garden blooming in the heavenly palace?" Emperor Yang was both surprised and delighted and asked, "What wonderful trick do you ladies have to make all the flowers bloom overnight?" The ladies-in-waiting all laughed and said, "What wonderful trick do we have?" "We just spent the whole night working on it." Emperor Yang asked, "How did it take you the whole night?" The ladies-in-waiting said, "Your Majesty need not ask in detail. Just pick a branch or two and you will know the details." Emperor Yang indeed walked to a weeping crabapple tree, climbed the branches and examined them closely. He found that they were not naturally formed, but rather were made of 5-colored satin, carefully cut and tied to the branches. Emperor Yang was overjoyed and exclaimed, "Who conceived of such a wondrous idea, creating such vibrant reds and greens, so lifelike? Though it is human skill, it truly surpasses the work of nature." The ladies-in-waiting replied, "This was Lady Qin's idea, instructing us and the palace maids to create it overnight for your Majesty's perusal." Emperor Yang looked at Lady Qin and said, "Yesterday I jokingly remarked to you, my concubine, but I never expected such artistry." He then slowly strolled in with Empress Xiao to admire the scene. There, clusters of green and red adorned the landscape, transcending spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Countless flowers and plants were spread out, 100 times more beautiful than those naturally occurring. How so? Indeed. Nature's artistry governs the 4 seasons, but who knows human effort can reverse it? Red silk shoots grow swiftly, roots and branches nurtured by golden scissors and nourished by rain and dew. All flowers bloom together, plum blossoms not too early, chrysanthemums not too late. The peach blossom cannot bloom without the spring breeze. The tender plum need not be nourished by fine rain. The peony is not without its beauty after snow. The peony also possesses its frost-defying grace. In spring, osmanthus blossoms fill the red courtyard. In October, lotus flowers fill the green pond. The cuckoo's red clusters of buds last year. The rose's branches are piled high with brocade all year round. The lotus is not allowed to fall under the dew. The willows are allowed to sway in the wind. Orchid leaves sway like green ribbons without wind. Crabapple leaves are wet with rouge without rain. The spring's blooming is not subject to the Eastern Emperor's control. The falling leaves are not hindered by bees and butterflies. The moon shines brightest. The branches are not afraid of the wind. The wonders of the 4 seasons are not diminished by the immortals. The eternal spring of the fairyland is wondrous. Do not say that heaven and earth hold the power of creation. Even the wealth and honor of emperors are no exception. Emperor Yang looked at them all and was truly delighted. He said, "Even Pinglai and Langyuan are nothing more than this. The concubine's cleverness and skill have rivaled the wonders of nature. This is truly a great pleasure." He then ordered the eunuchs to bring all the gold, silk, pearls, jade, and other precious items from the imperial treasury and distribute them to each of the concubines. The concubines all expressed their gratitude. Emperor Yang was extremely pleased, and together with Empress Xiao, went up to the tower and gazed at the scenery for a long time before coming down to drink. Soon, cups were clinked, music played, and the concubines offered each other toasts. Emperor Yang suddenly laughed and said, "Since Consort Qin is so innovative, cutting colorful ribbons into flowers to enhance the beauty of the lake and mountains, it's quite inappropriate for the other beauties to sing these old tunes. Whoever sings a new song, I will drink 3 large goblets in one go." Before he finished speaking, a beautiful woman, dressed in a purple silk robe and tied with a green silk sash, gracefully stepped forward and said, "This humble concubine is unworthy, but I humbly wish to win your majesty's smile." Everyone looked and saw that it was a beauty from the Renjai courtyard, whose nickname was Yin Yang. Emperor Yang said, "Excellent, excellent." Yin Yang approached the banquet, lightly tapped the sandalwood clappers, and slowly opened her red lips, like a new nightingale's first song, and sang a poem called Like a Dream. Do not say that prosperity is but a dream, for overnight the sound of scissors sows the seeds. At dawn, brocade piles on the branches, laughing at the useless spring breeze. Not a hymn, truly a fairyland. Emperor Yang, upon hearing this, was overjoyed and said, "Wonderful! I must drink." He indeed drank 3 cups in succession, and Empress Xiao and the other ladies drank one with him. Just as the wine was finished, another beauty appeared, lightly made up with a shy demeanor, and said, "This humble concubine, though unworthy, also has a small poem to offer." Emperor Yang looked up and saw it was Zhu Gear from Yinghui courtyard. Emperor Yang smiled and said, "If it is Gear, then surely there is an even more wonderful melody." Gear, unhurried, slowly shifted her tone and sang a Like a Dream melody. The imperial daughters and granddaughters play games, delicately cutting brocade clouds. Overnight, spring is skillfully spread, adorning the branches. Auspicious omens, depicting royal wealth and nobility. After the noble child finished singing, Emperor Yang clapped his hands and praised, "What a wonderful depicting the wealth and nobility of the imperial family. Not only is the sound like a string of pearls, but the depiction of the scene is also full of charm." He then drank 3 more cups, his laughter becoming hoarse, and he was quite intoxicated. Just then, the eunuch guarding the garden, Ma Shuzhang, entered and knelt, saying, "Wang Yi said he had made something outside the garden and came to present it to your majesty." Upon hearing that it was Wang Yi, Emperor Yang was delighted and said, "Summon him in." A short while later, Ma Shuzhang led Wang Yi to the steps and knelt down, holding an object in his hands, and said, "My wife, Jiang Tingting, grateful for your majesty's great grace, wove a tent herself and asked me to present it to her." Emperor Yang ordered a palace maid to bring it over. It was a brocade package. Unwrapping it, they found an object inside, as black as lacquer and as soft as cotton, which, when held in the hand, did not even fill a fist. Emperor Yang found it strange and asked, "Wang Yi, what is this?" Wang Yi replied, "My wife Tingting has been deeply grateful for your majesty's kindness day and night, and has no way to repay it. She selected the longest, blackest strands of her own hair, bound them together with a magical glue, and wove them into a silk veil, which took months to complete. She then cut it into a curtain, so that one can see out from the inside but not from the outside. It is warm in winter and cool in summer. It can be spread out wide when unfolded, and rolled up to be stored in a pillow." Emperor Yang was amazed and hurriedly ordered the palace maids to open it. Empress Xiao and the other ladies rose to look, and saw that light smoke was rising, and the room was filled with fragrant clouds, spacious enough to fit a large room. Empress Xiao said to Emperor Yang, "I never expected this woman to be so resourceful. Your Majesty should reward her for her efforts." Upon hearing this, Emperor Yang ordered a palace maid to give Wang Yi 2 bolts of fine silk and a shawl, saying, "Your wife has exhausted her ingenuity to make this curtain. I am rewarding her with these 2 items." Wang Yi accepted them, thanked the emperor, and left. Emperor Yang said to Empress Xiao, "The other day, my wife said that a monk's meditation bed could accommodate several people, but this tent can hold far more than that." He then instructed the palace servants, "Move the Hehuan bed that came in from abroad the other day, which is in the side room of Zionren Palace, here quickly. Lay out dozens of brocade mattresses and hang up this blue silk canopy." After giving the instructions, the palace servants busied themselves, and in no time everything was arranged neatly. Emperor Yang said to Empress Xiao and the other ladies, "Consort Qin is so clever, and Jiang Tingting is so skillful. To have both of them in one day is truly delightful. Now, let's have another drink. Tonight, my wife, lead the other ladies to stay on the straw mats on the Hehuan bed in this tent for a grand Hehuan party. What do you say?" Empress Xiao laughed and said, "They can stay here, but I cannot. I must return to the palace." Emperor Yang laughed and said, "If my wife wants to leave, she must drink 3 cups. Empress Xiao indeed drank 3 large cups and got up to leave. Emperor Yang then pulled the other ladies to sleep on the Hehuan bed. It is said, "Like a paradise not far away, when will the dream of Wuxia return?" Now let us speak of a concubine in the harem, born with unparalleled beauty, captivating and alluring, truly a beauty that could make fish sink and geese fall, the moon hide and flowers blush. Moreover, she was naturally intelligent, skilled in poetry and prose. Since being selected to enter the palace, relying on her talent and beauty, and with Emperor Yang's fondness for beauty and talent, he thought she could be as beautiful as a Jiao in her golden palace or Zhao Yang in his imperial concubine's palace. Who knew that talent could not overcome fate, and beauty could not be matched by the times? For several years after entering the palace, she had never seen the emperor, spending her days alone burning incense. In the long nights and twilight, she endured countless bitter rains and chilling winds. In the spring days and autumn nights, she suffered countless heart-wrenching anguish. Even a person of iron and stone could not endure such hardship. During the day, she could still bear it, but when the lamp dimmed and she awoke from her dreams, she truly wept 1,000 tears. At first, she still cherished her appearance, forcing herself to apply makeup, hopping for a fleeting encounter. How could she bear the passing of time, day after day, wasting away without realizing her beauty fading away? Though several fellow women often came to comfort her, their sorrows only deepened with each passing day. One day, she heard that Emperor Yang had again sent Su Tingfu to the palace to select maids. A palace maid advised Lady Hu to give him some jewels and jade, so that he could inform the emperor. Lady Hu said, "I have heard of Wang Zhejian of the Han Dynasty, who would rather have a mole painted on her face than spend 1,000 pieces of gold to bribe a painter." Although she was sent away to marry the Xiongnu chieftain, she later played the pipa in her tomb, and her name is immortal. Who does not pity and cherish her? She is indeed a beauty for all time. Although I am not as beautiful as Zhejian, I would be ashamed to bribe a villain for favor. I hate that I was born with a short life. Even if I could see you, it would be in vain. I would rather die and become a ghost of sorrow for 1,000 years than endure this loneliness in the palace. Later, she heard that Su Tingfu had selected more than 100 women to be sent to the Western Garden. Lady Hu then burst into tears and said, "I will never see you in this life. If I could have your glance, perhaps it would be after my death." After saying this, she cried again. That day, she did not eat or drink. Instead, she went to the dressing table, dressed herself neatly, and wrote her usual poems of sentiment on several pieces of black silk paper that she had made herself. She filled another brocade pouch with the poems and tied it to her left arm. She threw the rest of her poems into the fire and burned them. She wandered around alone for a while, then leaned against the railing, sobbing for a long time. At nightfall, she quietly closed the door and waited until after midnight. Unable to bear the grief and pain any longer, she took a white silk ribbon and hanged herself. Indeed, her fragrant soul is gone. Where is her sorrow? Her jade-like face is vanished, yet her resentment remains deep. Several palace maids, hearing the commotion, rushed in to help, but she had already perished. They wept for a while, and the next morning, not daring to conceal the truth, they reported it to Empress Zio. Meanwhile, Empress Zio, in her silken bedchamber in the West Garden, awoke from her drunken stupor. Emperor Yang, unable to let her go, lingered for a while. At dawn, while Emperor Yang slept soundly, she quietly boarded her carriage and returned to the palace. After washing and dressing, she instructed the palace maids to prepare a banquet to welcome the ladies. Suddenly, a palace maid from Lady Hu's household arrived with news of her death. Empress Zio followed the maid to investigate. The maid found a brocade pouch on Lady Hu's left arm and gave it to Empress Zio. Empress Zio opened it and found a few lines of poetry. She put it back in the pouch as before and instructed the maid to deliver it to Emperor Yang. At this moment, Emperor Yang had risen and sat to the side, watching his consorts prepare for their morning dressing. He then discussed the gains and losses of the past and present with Lady Shah of the Baolin Academy. Emperor Yang said, King Zhou of Yin only favored Daji, and King Yu of Zhou only favored Bayasi, yet they ruined the world. Today I am surrounded by beauties, yet the world is as peaceful as Mount Tai. Why is this? Lady Shah replied. How could Daji and Bayasi ruin the world of Yin and Zhou? It was because Kings Zhou and Yu were infatuated with the beauty of Daji and Bayasi that they neglected the affairs of the state, and thus the world gradually fell apart. Now your Majesty tour the south and hunts the north, showing such care for governing the country. How can the world not be at peace? Even in your leisure time, you enjoy yourself in the palace. Although you have many concubines, you are increasingly refined and elegant. Emperor Yang laughed and said, Although Kings Zhou and you lacked the virtue of a ruler, yet the favor I have shown to Daji and Bayasi is already extremely generous. Lady Shah said, To indulge one person is called private affection. To share the same rain and dew is called public favor. This is why King Zhou and King Yu were corrupt, and why your Majesty enjoys peace and comfort. Emperor Yang was overjoyed and said, Your words resonate deeply with me. Although I have countless beauties in my 16 palaces in the 2 capitals, I treat them all equally well, never neglecting a single one and causing them to feel unworthy. Therefore, I am happy everywhere, for I have shown kindness without resentment. Emperor Yang and Lady Shah were having a pleasant conversation when Empress Zio sent a palace maid with a brocade pouch to inform him of the Lady Hu's passing. Emperor Yang thought that the death of an ordinary concubine was not a big deal, and he smiled as he opened the pouch. He saw several sheets of exquisite black silk paper, neatly written with poems in elegant script and vigorous strokes. He felt a pang of pity. By then, all the ladies had finished dressing and changed into their finest clothes, and many came before Emperor Yang to admire them. Emperor Yang first unfolded the first scroll, which contained 2 poems entitled, Viewing Plum Blossoms. Versed, The snow on the steps never melts, and I frown as I roll up the curtain. The plum blossoms in the courtyard seem to pity me, revealing a touch of spring on their branches first. Second, the fragrance fades, the cold beauty remains, but who recognizes its innocence? After the jade plum blossoms wither, the warm spring arrives, scattering its fragrance among the myriad flowers, enjoying spring freely. Emperor Yang was greatly surprised upon seeing this, exclaiming, How can there still be such a beautiful and talented woman in the palace? He hurriedly unfolded the second painting, which contained 1 poem, Completed Makeup, and 3 poems, Self-Reflection. Completed Makeup reads, Completed makeup. I cherish myself greatly, but my beautiful dream turns to sorrow. I cannot match the willow catkins, which fly everywhere in spring. Self-reflection reads, the courtyard is devoid of the imperial carriage's traces, and fragrant grasses gradually form nests. I faintly hear the sounds of flutes and drums. Where is the emperor's favor now? The second poem reads, I want to weep but cannot shed tears, and sorrow forces me to sing. The courtyard flowers are in full bloom, but what can I do against spring? The third scroll reads, the spring gloom is boundless. How can I bear to walk alone? Even the idle flowers and grasses are enriched by rain and dew. The third scroll, however, is a poem titled Self-Lament. Entering the Changming Palace for the first time, I deeply report to the Wyong Palace. For 7 or 8 years in the Changmen Palace, I have not seen the emperor again. The spring chill penetrates to the bone. I sit alone in my empty room, filled with sorrow. I shuffle through the courtyard, my heart filled with melancholy. What I cherished in the past, I now treat with utter indifference. Beauty has become worthless. How can my frail fate be measured? The emperor's favor is truly distant. My heart is filled with vain uncertainty. Do I have no family? My dearest relative is old and frail in the North Hall. Here, I have no wings. How can I escape these high walls? My life is truly precious. To abandon it is truly heartbreaking. Hanging a silk scroll on the vermilion beam, my heart is like boiling water. I stretch my neck, yet I still lament, as if my heart is being pulled by silk threads. She resolutely faced death, returning to the underworld. Emperor Yang, before finishing reading, burst into tears, saying, "It is my fault. How I cherish talent. I never imagined that a talented woman would be lost in the palace. Truly, it is a great pity." Wiping away his tears, he unfolded the fourth scroll, which contained a poem titled Last Thoughts. A secret cave locks away celestial flowers. A carved window locks away a jade beauty. Mao Jun truly deserves to be killed, even less worthy of writing about Zhejian. Emperor Yang, upon reading it, flew into a rage, exclaiming, "So this scoundrel caused the trouble?" Lady Xia asked. "Who is it?" Emperor Yang replied, "The other day I summoned Su Tingfu to the inner palace to select women. Why didn't I choose him? There must be something fishy going on. This poem clearly expresses resentment that Su Tingfu refused to choose her, hence her death in anger." He then ordered Su Tingfu to be arrested. Lady Jia of Jiangyang Palace said, "Su Tingfu only cares about appearance. How could he recognize her talent? Lady Hu is beautiful and talented, but what about her appearance? Your Majesty, why don't you send someone to see her? If her appearance is ordinary, her crime can be forgiven. If she is both talented and beautiful, it's not too late to arrest her then." Emperor Yang said, "If she weren't an exceptional beauty, how could she possess such exquisite words? Since the concubines say so, I will go and see for myself." He then bid farewell to the other ladies and returned to the palace in his carriage. Empress Zio greeted him, and they went to the inner palace together. Lady Hu appeared to be a woman in her early 20s, and although she was dead, she was dressed neatly and looked as if she were still alive. Her cheeks were rosy and her face pale, like a peach blossom glistening with dew. Emperor Yang, unconcerned about defiling his own body, approached and placed his hand on her corpse, weeping bitterly. "I, so fond of talent and beauty, have lost a concubine in the palace. Such a talented and beautiful concubine, yet she could not meet me, so close yet so far. It is not that I have wronged her, but that her fate was unkind. It is not that she did not meet me, but that my destiny was unkind. Concubine in the afterlife, do not blame me." He wept again, weeping and talking, rambling on and on, like Confucius weeping for the unicorn, utterly heart-wrenching. Indeed, the sage grieves for the way, the common man weeps for beauty. The same sorrow, yet worlds apart. Empress Zio advised, The person and the zither are gone. What good is grief? I beg your majesty to take care of yourself. Emperor Yang then issued an edict, arresting Su Tingfu and imprisoning him for a thorough interrogation and sentencing. On one hand, he ordered people to prepare clothing, a coffin, and a burial for Lady Hu, and to give her a grand funeral. On the other hand, he ordered palace servants to search for her remaining poems. The servants reported back, Lady Hu composed many poems. On the day of her death, she wept and burned them all. Emperor Yang was deeply saddened. He placed the poems from the brocade pouch on the table, read them once, saying, "What a pity." Read them again, saying, "How pitiful," treasuring them greatly. He then instructed the ladies to turn them into musical scores. The ladies, having learned of Emperor Yang's lavish funeral for Lady Hu, also prepared offerings and came to the inner palace to pay their respects. Emperor Yang composed a eulogy to mourn her, several lines of which read, 5 years in Changmen Palace, cold moon and misty smoke. If the lady had not met me, who would pity her? If the lady had not met me, she would sleep alone day and night. If I had not met the lady, I would leave behind regrets in the netherworld. Even in death, I grieve as if the lady were still alive. Many poignant and sorrowful words followed, too numerous to record. After Emperor Yang finished reciting the eulogy, he read it aloud himself. Even Empress Zio couldn't help but shed tears, saying, "Your Majesty, why are you so sentimental?" Emperor Yang replied, "It's not that I'm sentimental, but when emotions reach their breaking point, I can't help myself." This moved all the ladies to tears as well. Emperor Yang bestowed upon Lady Hu a sacrificial altar, burned the eulogy before the coffin, and selected a burial site with great honors. He also ordered the local officials to provide generous compensation to her parents. Su Tingfu was tortured by the officials, and unable to withstand the interrogation, he confessed to extorting money from the emperor. The officials reported this to the emperor, who was furious and ordered him to be executed by being cut in half at the waist in the Eastern Market. However, thanks to the repeated pleas of his wives, the emperor decreed that Su Tingfu be allowed to commit suicide in prison. Indeed, relying solely on power and greed, who knew that wealth would bring disaster. Though they may vie for time, they both arrive at the netherworld.